welcome back. Locked and Loaded, Fire and Fury, and more.
If he does anything with respect to Guam or any place else that's an American territory or an American ally, he will truly regret it, and he will regret it fast.
Unorthodox, to say the least. The President of the United States in a daily, sometimes hourly, rhetorical escalation with North Korea. Maybe you think it's long past time to stand up to bully dictators. Maybe you see such talk as reckless. So help me explain this. From a call designed to reassure Guam's governor after North Korea threatened to show its missiles could reach a U.S. territory.
Hey, I have to tell you, you've become extremely famous. All over the world, they're talking about Guam, and they're talking about you, and I think you're going to get tourism. I can say this, your tourism, you're going to go up in like 10-fold with the expenditure of no money, so I congratulate you.
Is that funny? I try to you try to give like, okay, people are different. This president has a different style. That he's trying to put the governor at ease, trying to get him to relax after these North Korean threats. Yeah. But when you're talking about Fire and Fury and Locked and Loaded and sort of building the American people up for pay attention here, what's that?
Yeah, come watch our lovely sunsets is not quite North Korean bombs potentially falling from the sky in Guam. So it's not the greatest selling point, and the president did set up that tourism pitch, if it is in fact a tourism pitch, so it maybe is good for the president feeling better for himself, but I don't know how much it actually, would put the residents of Guam and their potential tourist places.
And it's dissonant when you're talking about a subject as deadly serious as not only potential war on the Korean Peninsula, but nuclear war. I mean, so it came across as a kind of particularly insensitive moment when there's people worried about what could come from his rhetoric.
And in the president's defense, he inherits a nightmare scenario. The Clinton administration didn't get this right. The Bush administration didn't get this right. The Obama administration didn't get this right because they also faced bad choices. North Korea was moving ahead with its nuclear program, with its missile program. At times, China helps. At times, China pulls back. So the president inherits a cumulative mess, if you will. The question is this the right way out, including this from the president this past week?
The people that were questioning that statement, was it too tough? Maybe it wasn't tough enough. They've been doing this to our country for a long time, for many years. And it's about time that somebody stuck up for the people of this country and for the people of other countries. So, if anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough.
What would be tougher than Fire and Fury?
Well, you'll see. You'll see.
You'll see from the president there on Thursday. Then on Friday, here's part of what he said you'll see. Military solutions are now fully in place, locked and loaded, should North Korea act unwisely. Hopefully Kim Jong-un will find another path. If you talk to folks at the Pentagon, they say they haven't been told to evacuate Americans. They haven't been told to put ships or missiles on high alert. And the White House would say, well, we mean there are always contingency plans in place. Again, some people say, good, get in Kim Jong-un's face, stand up to the bully, make clear that you're ready to act. Other people say, well, wait a minute, that's in a way drawing a line. What happens if we're having this conversation 2 weeks and 2 months from now? Is the president's credibility at risk?
That's right. In this past week, we're really seeing the president be tested in that sort of what's going to happen when the phone rings at 3 a.m, right? But on issues that are not created by him, on issues that are not kind of created by politicians, right? What you see in Charlottesville is a domestic example of that. You have to respond. You have no control over it. Right. And then what you see happening in North Korea, you have to respond. You have some control over it, but not that much control over it. And so we're really seeing him, this is one of the early tests of his administration. Right. What's his instinct? What is his instinct to tell him to do when he decides to go off script, when he decides to push a little stronger? And obviously, by making that joke to the leader of Guam, the president is saying, don't worry, nothing imminent is happening. That's obviously what he's saying, but it is, but he is, his statements, which are meant to prod China and North Korea, have impacts on Guam, South Korea, Japan, and that
and
is
also other allies all around the world. You're right, mostly in the neighborhood to start, but other allies in the world saying, well, when the president of the United States says something like this, what are we supposed to think about it?
It's been remarkable to see the president go further than his advisors or his advisors trying to clean up what he's been saying afterwards, which I think was probably one reason why we saw the president actually answer questions at length from pool reporters at his golf club, because he realizes that things that he says may be discordant with things that his advisors say, and the world needs to understand exactly what the president is thinking, because when his advisors try to explain what he's thinking, it doesn't always align with what the president is actually tweeting or suggesting publicly.
And we can laugh at the comedy of the conversation with the governor of Guam, but this is pretty serious business, and everybody understands that. North Korea has made remarkable, faster than the Pentagon anticipated, progress in developing an ICBM. The length of its ballistic missiles can potentially reach the United States, or at least reach Guam or Hawaii. They've also progressed in their shrinking, miniaturizing a nuclear weapon. Listen to Senator Lindsey Graham here. If you think this isn't serious, how about this?
We got two bad options. That is to let them get a missile to hit America or go to war to stop them. China should have two bad options. Deal with a nut job in your backyard or realize that there'll be a war in your backyard.
Is that common on Capitol Hill? Do they think it's at that point?
Where it's all up to China? I mean, it's been all up to China for a very long time. I mean, China is the one who actually has the most leverage over North Korea. And, the idea of using sharper terms to call the North Korean leader a nut job versus just, somebody who's kind of, the leader of a rogue state is all well and good. But the basic chess game of this has not changed, except for the fact that we're now talking in bigger and bolder terms about military options and leaving open the question of would there be a strike, but one that isn't backed up by anything.
And the president comes back tomorrow and says we're going to have another investigation of what he views as unfair Chinese trade practices. Is that enough to push China?
Again, this has been something that has been kicking around for a very, very long time as a discussion point on Capitol Hill, that nobody's ever actually, passed a bill to sanction China. That is a very, very big step.
You asked about Capitol Hill. Capitol doesn't know what the president is going to do. Some of the leaders of the key committees have not been briefed on the plans that are going forward. I think they're just as much in the dark as a lot of the country, plus a lot of the rest of the world is. Really.
Well, we'll see the president, again, interrupting his vacation, come back to Washington tomorrow to deliver a statement on the Chinese aspect of this. We'll see if he takes some questions. People have some other questions for the president as well. Up next, did the president fail a key leadership test in his response yesterday to that Virginia violence?